Well, hello YouTube, and today of course I'm reporting from a graveyard, right? How exciting. Well, here I am in Oklahoma in a graveyard. My maternal grandparents are buried here, and I want to talk a little bit about this time of year. Obviously, here we are in early October, but if you follow the lunar cycle, this is Vettir-Nattr. This is the winter nights, probably closer to the original Samhain, the Celtic Samhain, the time of year to do Alfablot. Today I came by and visited my grandparents, and I had my own impromptu sort of bloat to both my the Alfr and the Disir. And I did this because this time of year, for one, I'm trying to reconnect with those old ways. There's a lot of traffic up and down this side road here. It's crazy. And to remember my ancestors. Now, I find it interesting that paying homage to these ancestors, my noble ancestors, not just here, I also paid homage to the ones who were far away. Of course, being of European ancestry, I want to acknowledge those who are far away, tombs that have been separated from their line for a couple of centuries, really. And I found that during the process, during the ritual, I found myself being surprisingly emotional. It surprised me today. Realizing how significant that moment was in regards to, I'm a little lost for words here to explain it. It's really hard to explain. I can't really put it to words. I usually have something to say, but when it comes to this, a lot of things, a lot of memories of my grandparents came forth. Their value to me in life is even more prominent now. I see it now, the things they tried to do for me, the things they did do for me. Guidance, wisdom, and that connection to all those old spirits, all those old people that go so much further than just the American continent. I got this funny bee hovering around. The irony, I can get stung by a bee, you know. But, and of course, I'm not addressing this video to people who know nothing about these holidays. And my exact methods of how I might do a bloat or a ritual, I'm not going to get into that. I think that's kind of private. I would say there are guidelines to go by, obviously. You're looking further back, even to Indo-European timelines. There's always an element of fire, an element of libation, usually. But this is kind of geared to those who still follow the solar calendar. Looking at Halloween, for example. And I think you should look back to the old lunar calendar for your timing, for that sacred timing for your bloats. There's a starting heathenry course by Thomas of Survive the Jive, his channel. Excellent course. I took it. Wonderful. I highly recommend it. And it really gets into some of the historical methods and bloats and the meaning as to why. Obviously, there's leeway and people's methods change over time, but there's some things that stay fairly consistent. So, without getting into all the details here, I had to think, when it comes down to a broader perspective as to, okay, how let's say Halloween. I'm going to use Halloween as an example. We know that's clearly derived from Samhain. The Irish brought it over. Now the Irish had converted to Catholicism, but they brought it over to the Americas, and it kind of transformed in the Americas. The emphasis on family diminished, and it became this marketed fun holiday with costumes and candy and all this stuff, and that got re-exported back to the old world. But I was talking to some of my students recently, and they have, of course, All Saints Day, which is a Catholic holiday, and I'm pretty sure that that was probably an appropriation of earlier pagan ancestral days, where they go out to the graveyards, they light a candle, they tell stories or clean graves. The traditions vary a little bit throughout much of Europe, especially Slavic countries. And as I listened to her describe these ideas, they're all very pagan. She thinks they're Catholic, but they're very pagan. There's a mosquito after me now. Well, I realize how dead Americans are. And what I mean by that is we have abandoned all those traditions. We have completely abandoned all those traditions. I mean, think about this. We have no connections. How many people here in this very graveyard are never visited by the relatives? And of course, some of them are old graves. Some of them are from the 1800s. You're not going to be visiting them, okay? But there could be descendants still visiting them if they wanted to, if they're nearby. And I think even grandparents, siblings, parents, how many of them are here and just forgotten? How can we do this? How can we forget those who came before us so easily? It led me to the realization that Americans are disposable anymore. We come from this melting pot of European cultures. Let's face it, it was intended as a melting pot of European cultures. But it's pretty broad and accommodating to others as well. But we've lost something very important as Americans. We've become obsessed with consumerism. Everything we make is cheap and temporary. It's a weird thing when you see this. Our vehicles fall apart quickly. Our homes fall apart. Nothing is permanent. Our architecture sucks for the most part. Infrastructure, it's just there to make business go. That's it. We are just a giant shopping mall. We ourselves are disposable. We don't really do anything. We just attach to the next fad. We spend, we consume, we waste, and we have no attachments to anything of significance. There really is no posterity. So it's something I just really want to change. I fall into that trap as well. And yeah, we're separated from Europe. And I'm not saying Europe doesn't have its own version of that, but at least people are still getting out and lighting candles and tending to those graves. What's happened to us. And I know not all of you are guilty of that, but I'm willing to bet the majority are. So I'm just here to remind everybody that we need to keep these old holidays. And the cool thing about doing this on this lunar cycle is, okay, if I tried to do this like a lot of people think, come out on Halloween night, I'm here in the Bible Belt, you might get shot for that. They might accuse you of being satanic or something ridiculous like that. And that goes on to how did the Christians convince so many of the old pagans that what they were doing was wrong? Think about that. Why was it that we had to be severed from our ancestors, even our close ones? Put them in the ground, they're somewhere else, forget about them. That's essentially it. How much guidance could be learned from just the examples of their lives alone, just the memories of their lives alone, whether you're religious or not, whether or not you're spiritual, whether or not you think you can commune with them directly or indirectly. There's a lot of themes that are layered in this, and for those of you that are heathens, that are researched heathens, I'll put it that way, you'll probably understand what I'm leaning at. But just imagine the lessons learned from, say, even a great-grandfather or great-grandmother. And, what is missing from us? It keeps us in a state of temporary learning, just enough to be a functional tool in a bigger scheme. We're here to buy products, we're here to make products, we're here to, as cheaply as possible, make someone else wealthy to live a bigger life. You know, that's the American thing now. Yes. So I just have to remember to reconnect. And this is something that I'm going to have to do. I've done so in different ways. And I think tonight when I get home, I'm going to break out some candles and some old photo albums of some of my family who've long gone and tell their stories and their funny moments, their triumphant moments. My grandfather here, World War II vet, saw all kinds of hellish experiences, told me about them when I was little. My grandmother, always smiling, you know. My libation today, by the way, for them was both coffee. They love their coffee. One of these days there might be some Southern Comfort and some cornflakes and honey with some good milk in there too. So anyway, today is that day. If you can, you might get this video late. Some of you might have already done your Alfablot, however you might do it. I highly recommend remembering those who came before us. And remember that many of us are all part of a much greater family as well. So that said, I'm going to get around here and wander around with my kids. They seem uninterested at first, and now they're all over the place. And for the sake of all those who are buried here as well, I hope that maybe they can have some connection with their current family members, that they aren't forgotten as well. So, thank you for listening to my rants, and I will see you next time.